President Trump says Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has just announced that the Strait of Hormuz is open for all commercial vessels. This development comes a week after the Islamabad talks were held and a day after Field Marshal Asim Munir met with Pezeshkian and Araghchi, among other senior Iranian officials.
So absolutely huge news out of the Middle East this morning, as the Strait of Hormuz is now completely open. Those are not my words. Those are actually the words of the Iranian regime, who, it would at least appear, have completely stood down altogether on this Strait of Hormuz issue. And if you've been following our content throughout the week, you should know this is not at all surprising. It was trending in this direction. Frankly, it was inevitable because Iran, first of all, went from claiming they controlled the strait, trying to extort bribery and intimidation money from oil tankers, which it turns out in retrospect they weren't even able to collect. These are not the most competent people. But of course, it started like that for the past several weeks. Then we had the U.S. blockade, which Iran threatened to blow up, but they realized they couldn't actually do anything and America wasn't bluffing, to them then privately hinting in negotiations they would be willing to stand down on the strait, to now basically saying that publicly. Now, what Iran is claiming about this is they're giving up the strait because they're happy about the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire that President Trump brokered, but I would point out that really has nothing to do with it. I really think the reason this is actually happening is because Iran, due to the blockade, lost all the leverage. They're hemorrhaging millions of dollars a day, and they needed a reason to give up on this whole failed control of the Strait of Hormuz mission altogether. Because as we've been telling you about, it hasn't actually been going well for them. And to all the propagandists who claimed America lost because Iran controls the strait, notice how quiet they've been this entire week because Iran keeps getting humiliated time and time again. I thought they were supposed to blow up our Navy by now. I thought there was nothing America could do to break the blockade. What is going on, right? Nonetheless, we'll tell you all about this here today. I also want to share some of the economic news in terms of the effect this is having on oil prices, because yes, it is indeed very real. They're continuing to plummet even more. And if I were to take a guess right now, I actually think maybe it's the case currently that Iran is going to make a deal. And as we've been saying, it's not because we trust the Iranian regime. I feel like I have to repeat that in every video, but that's not what I'm saying whatsoever. Absolutely, they are not good faith negotiators. The reason why I think Iran now is forced to make a deal is because of the entire economic picture we've been showing you. They cannot afford to keep on losing this money. Thus far throughout the war, we were dropping bombs, but we were not cutting off their money supply. Follow the money, a pretty good rule for life. And I think you're seeing the signs of that publicly, right? Why did negotiations break down in Pakistan, but ever since the Monday blockade, it feels like are making historic progress? This is no coincidence. They're corrupt autocrats. They want their oil money. They kind of need their oil money to fund their government, fund their military, who, if the military doesn't get paid, probably is going to overthrow the government, right? So this picture comes together to show you, yeah, this has worked. America is completely winning here. And again, I just wonder where all the panicins are. It's a bad day to be it's been a bad week, frankly, entirely to be a panican, but especially today. Sort of our predictions on this are coming fully to fruition, right? That's why you should subscribe to the channel. On that note, make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. That's the best way to support our work and ensures you can stay up to date with our coverage, so that way you're 2 steps ahead, right? Because we sort of predicted where this was going the entire week, unlike the panicins. So just want to point that out. But anyways, let us, of course, start with some panicking news from last night, actually, because I immediately saw this and rolled my eyes. But I do want to point out, right, the difference between Iran's grandstanding and public threats versus what they actually do in negotiations. Because last night we had this guy by the name of Rezai. He's a former IRGC commander and currently an advisor to the supreme leader, who we have no idea if that guy's even real. So really a meaningless position, but claims to have a post in the Iranian government, saying, and I quote, "First and foremost, we will not concede on our 10 conditions under naval pressure." You won't concede. Oh, really funny how you just did, though, right? Because one of their major sticking points in negotiations was controlling the Strait of Hormuz. It was the secondary reason why talks broke down in Pakistan. So that's just simply not true. He further says, I oppose continuing the ceasefire, right? So he wants Iran to go back to war. Clearly other people in the government, maybe even himself privately, know that's not really feasible from a financial perspective or even a military perspective, right? It's not exactly as if the conflict was going well for Iran. He further says, "We will sink all ships and let none of them escape, warning against U.S. vessels approaching the Strait of Hormuz." Oh, funny how I've been hearing that all week from Iran, but they haven't done that, and they're now conceding a bunch in the actual negotiations, right? Have you noticed these people just run their mouths? And I said the same thing even when Iran was controlling the strait, quote unquote, right? Are we sure that control is real? Are we sure they're not just scaring people because they talk a lot of crap? What are they realistically going to do if someone crosses the strait without their permission? Oh, right now we're learning effectively nothing, because the U.S. blockade is now allowing a bunch of oil tankers to cross the strait without their permission. It was the public moment, really, where America declared to the world, hey, look, guys, Iran doesn't control the strait. And now Iran is being forced to really have no other choice to admit, in a sense, yeah, okay, fine, we don't actually control the Strait of Hormuz. But you had that. Simultaneously, though, last night, President Trump made a big statement, which was that he has successfully now brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. You may remember that there was this initial misunderstanding. Iran was claiming that Israel violated the ceasefire. We predicted that although it wasn't true that Israel had, violated the ceasefire, that still President Trump likely is going to get Israel to just stop fighting for a second, so that way it improves negotiations. That is indeed exactly what Trump has done. And here is the announcement. Not only is there currently now a peace, right, Israel and Lebanon no longer fighting, but as a matter of fact, the first opening of diplomatic relations in several decades. So this is sort of a historic extension, you can almost say, to the Abraham Accords. He put out the following: "In addition to the statement I just issued, I will be inviting the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and the President of Lebanon, Joseph Aoun, to the White House for the first meaningful talks between Israel and Lebanon since 1983, a very long time ago. Both sides want to see peace, and I believe that will happen quickly." And by the way, this is a very positive diplomatic development, because the Lebanese government is in a complicated position. Hezbollah has they have a lot of guns, they have a lot of power. Realistically, does Lebanon's government actually want Hezbollah to be running over the country? No, but if they start fighting Hezbollah as the government, then Hezbollah is going to try to overthrow the country. So definitely, I'd like to see some progress here, and I'd like to see Iran's ability to keep on funding proxies and militarism throughout the East get choked off. And yes, absolutely, if Lebanon and Israel are able to establish closer diplomatic ties and unite to do something against Hezbollah instead of it being this sort of contentious issue and geopolitical sore spot, then that's even more leverage here that Iran absolutely is losing. And by the way, I just also want to point out to the Panikins, wait, but I thought Trump was controlled by Israel. How did he get this to happen? Because I was told vehemently, Bibi Netanyahu's the one really in charge. Trump is just Israel's puppet, and Netanyahu's going to make sure that we drag America back into the war, right? And that he's going to sabotage the ceasefire. And I mean, full disclosure, I'm sure Netanyahu's not happy about the ceasefire. He probably wants to keep on fighting. He wants to blow Hezbollah out of the water. He wants to blow everybody out of the water, right? But notice how ultimately it's the United States here who calls the shots. I just want to point that out to those very same people. Look at this not being controlled by Israel right now. I thought Netanyahu and his warmongering ruled the entire world. Oh, that didn't happen? Interesting how these people are just wrong about everything. But anyways, off the heels of that news, maybe it's because of that, maybe it's not, but you see this announcement this morning. Iran is now declaring the Strait of Hormuz to be, quote, completely open for the remainder of the truce in line with the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire. And thus far, we don't even seem to have any indication that it's completely open, as they said the first time, under their terms, right? Under their careful coordination, their rules, which really means paying the extortion money. Now it seems like they're just saying, no, it's open, because again, they've had to show to the United States and the whole world, oh, we don't really have control over the strait. We were just talking crap and basically humiliating these countries, or intimidating, I should say, these countries and these oil companies the entire time. And I'm once again going to say that although the Lebanon ceasefire is a big deal and probably a good development, I still don't think it's the actual reason why Iran is coming out and saying this. I think it really has a lot more to do with stuff like this right here. Iran's economy in the first week already has lost $1.7 billion from President Trump's blockade. So why do you think they're coming to the table? Why do you think they're effectively caving and surrendering on one of their key 10 points they would never concede on? Probably has more to do with follow the money, and the ceasefire is just an excuse if we were using common sense here. Don't you think?
President Trump says the U.S. blockade might end up being more powerful than the bombing, as the blockade is estimated to be costing Iran up to hundreds of millions of dollars in losses per day. The president says, believe it or not, the U.S. is on better terms with Iran right now. He thinks a more permanent deal is coming, and the ceasefire may not need to be extended.
I can tell you, maybe it'll happen before that. I'm not sure it needs to be extended. Just so you know, Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons. If we do, that's a big factor. And they're willing to do things today that they weren't willing to do 2 months ago.
The president also announced a 10-day ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel. The two countries have been at war, at odds for decades. President Trump says he has invited Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the president of Lebanon to the White House for a meeting as well.
Yeah, well, we've been hitting on this point all week, but yes, it is true. America is in a much stronger position. We have much more leverage than we did before. Why? Because bombing Iran doesn't necessarily cut off the regime's money supply. Cutting off the money, blocking the oil, actually does. One could make a strong argument, maybe we should have done that from the beginning. I don't know. But still, nonetheless, as it's happening right now, this is absolutely the cold, hard truth. And I would argue again, the real reason why Iran's been forced to admit that they don't have control over the Strait, because we had to go and prove to the world they didn't control it. And now, by the way, in the process of the blockade, losing billions of dollars with an economy already on shaky grounds and a government, let's not forget, also on shaky grounds, right? The senior leadership is gone. This is an interim, fresh new government. Do you want to inherit a massive recession or depression when you just got there? Does that historically end well for any regime, whether that's an autocracy or a democracy? No, it doesn't. So this is very simple stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Nonetheless, here's what President Trump came out and said, quote, "The Strait of Hormuz is completely open and ready for business and full passage. However, the naval blockade will remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran." So Trump's making it clear. We're sending all the non-Iranian oil out, as we have been, but now, right, we're declaring it completely open. However, Iran, because the pressure has to maintain at least until they sign the deal, we're going to keep on sanctioning and blocking their oil from passing. So don't let Iran think before the ink meets the paper that they get a free pass out of this, right? You're going to keep on dealing with the financial suffering until you sign the deal. Nonetheless, only until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete, and that makes perfect sense. This process should go very quickly in that most of the points are already negotiated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So President Trump's been hinting all week that the negotiations seem to be going a lot better than they initially did in Pakistan. Again, the reasons why are not a mystery. Iran runs its mouth. Their historic negotiating strategy has been, oh, filibuster, run out the clock, just waste time with the United States. Now they can't waste time, because if they waste time, that means the economy gets worse, their pockets get thinner. That's a huge problem, and frankly, something that we haven't done to them before, right? Trump didn't do it before, even Obama back when they were, doing the failed nuclear deal back then. This strategy of, hey, let's actually cut off Iran's money hasn't been tried before, but notice how effective it really is. Again, maybe we should have done it sooner, but it's good that it's happening now. So just, again, a reminder to the people who claimed Iran was somehow going to walk out of this victorious. And the economy, ladies and gentlemen, is already seeing the effects today. U.S. oil prices, which have been dropping all week, but still staying around $90 a barrel because of uncertainty, now officially fall below $80 a barrel, down 32% in the last 9 trading days. So there does seem to be a growing sense and a confidence here. This thing may be wrapping up, maybe some more stability coming to the Middle East. Certainly a good thing, because we need to get gas prices in our country back under control. I'm not sure how much the average voter cares about geopolitical successes abroad. They want a more affordable life. That's completely fair, by the way. So this is a good development objectively. Simultaneously, the S&P 500 surging to yet another record high, up 12% ever since the low it reached on March 30th. And looking at both of these developments, you really just have to wonder, where's Kamala Harris? Can we get a status check on Kamala Harris?
Everyone, so I'm here in Charlotte since the start of Trump's war of choice. It's $15 more every time you fill up your tank of gas. The price of diesel has now gone up 80% since the start of the war. And you best believe that's going to carry over to how much you're paying for all the goods that are being transported on those semis. We've got a president who is paying more attention to what he thinks is in his best political interest and personal interest, as opposed to what is in the best interest of working people in America.
I think that this just shows that Trump won. Trump won, and the Arab nations won. The Arab nations with which we've been united since his first term won as well, because they saw Iran as the main enemy. Iran lost, China lost big time. They were losing money.
Yeah, and you certainly have to appreciate this recent trend of California Democrats who served under the Biden administration suddenly beginning to notice the price of gas over the past few weeks, right? Because Kamala's not even the only Democrat who's done this. Oh, let's stand in front of the gas station and talk about the high prices. Can you believe it? Oh, gas is expensive. Huh? You mean to tell me that Kamala Harris from California, Ro Khanna, Gavin Newsom from California, you're telling me that for the first time? Wow, very interesting. But still, nonetheless, it will be quite satisfying to watch these people have to shut up here in a few weeks. And it doesn't just go for the Democrats, it goes for the Panicans as well, right? This is working. I don't know 100% if Iran's going to make a deal, but I would say if they have any sense of self-preservation at this point, they would. Sounds like they're in that direction. But, either way, America has all the cards. Iran can stand there and collapse. They can get overthrown. They can deal with severe financial and economic hemorrhaging, which really does turn the world, right? Money turns the world. Follow the money, or they can make a deal that's very favorable to them, and it sounds like that's what's happening, right? I don't think it's an accident that Iran now is just publicly standing down on the Strait altogether, and, there you have it. But I'm just going to say one more time. People told us Iran was going to control the Strait. America lost. Where are they now? Huh? Where are they now? I don't know. If you've been following our channel, you would know none of this was going to happen, but, the Panicans, there they go again. It's not can't imagine it's good for the mental state, right? To always be so hysterical and negative and pessimistic about everything. But hey, each their own. To each their own. Anyways, that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.